many things that he doesn't know about today. And usually when he projects these findings, these wonders, these relics from the past, when he projects them into this particular society now, our poor, dumb people, number one, they usually don't go and look at it. You don't find very many Negroes in museums. No, they don't. They go to the ballpark, to the ball game. They don't even go to the zoo. You seldom find Negroes in a museum or in some place where there is something that's going to teach them something. And again, I'm not knocking Negroes saying this. I'm talking to you and me. As Minister John said, there's no strangers here today. We're having a little family chat. And when you have a family chat, you can talk the faults as well as the liabilities as well as the assets. And once you pull out these liabilities, you can correct them. You can go out to any museum and you'll find white people, white women, white mothers, white parents taking their little children through the museum, showing them this and showing them that. Why, our women don't do that. And because you don't do that, you actually leave a vacuum in the mind of your child. So now I don't know what this exhibition consists of these Egyptian relics that's on display out here. But as Allah blessed me to see it when I was in Egypt at the Cairo Museum, all of these splendors that belong to that ancient civilization along the Nile that has shocked the white man are relics right out of the past of the black man. And as a rule, you don't have any white man who doesn't know this. He will only contend with you if he thinks that you don't know what you're talking about. But then when the deal goes downhill, if he won't admit that they're outright black, he'll say, well, they got black blood. He's hard for him to admit the full truth, but if you can get him to admit a little bit of truth, the Negro will wake up, because the only truth he accepts is truth that he has come from the lips of the white man. Can you understand this? So I take time to mention that quickly, and you read the Los Angeles Times. I'm not a press agent for the Los Angeles Times, but if it has something in it that's of value, it's good for you and me to go and pick it up and study it for ourselves. And save those kind of things. And then when you're in a discussion with one of these crackers who are trying to bring you and me down, drop it on him. Say, look, boss, what I found in your paper. This man looks just like me. He don't look like you.
Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. I'm always amused by Malcolm, hearing Malcolm speak in the 60s, mind you. That was our sense of awareness of being black back then. We knew very little about Africa or Egypt or anything about the pharaohs being black. But today is a different era, a different century. I mean, it's a time warp for me going back, but I'm in my 70s like Herb, and we really appreciate hearing Malcolm speak about the unawareness of black people and their history. But today we have Malcolm Xavier Combs, 17-year-old mastermind of what is your specialty in school today? I understand you're on an honor roll, and
yes.
What is it you want to be in the future?
I want to be a video game designer.
A video game designer. Well, I mean, that's ingenious. I imagine you. What do you feel about? What did you think about what you saw there? Being named Malcolm Xavier Combs.
What I saw there was really powerful. That I was named after someone who's so strong and just so articulate that I felt like I had to really embody him.
Okay. You see what he was about. He was making his people aware of who they are, that we were kings and queens, not just Sambo, and which we knew of ourselves back in the 50s. You know, we had, come on, tell us, Herb, your specialty on Malcolm.
Well, I think one of the things we need to do is kind of put this in perspective a little bit, you know.
Right.
My first meeting with young Malcolm was at the National Action Network.
Right.
And his appearance there was, as a result, of him trying to educate himself and
Right.
also to educate his principal and the other officials at that school.
Right.
He ran into some resistance there in terms of having his name put on his senior sweater.
Right.
His name is Malcolm, as you say, Xavier, Combs. Malcolm X
Right.
is a shortened version of his name.
Right.
They say, no, you cannot put it on your senior sweater. That aroused the whole community. It created the event we had at the National Action Network, so I was there to
Did
cover
the
it.
principal call him Malcolm a terrorist?
Excuse me?
Did the principal call Malcolm X a terrorist? Did I
No,
hear that?
Yeah, what they're saying is that this is someone you should not be studying.
Okay.
That's where it amounts to, just a dismissal of one of our iconic leaders. And I think that, for the most part, here's a young person
Right.
who's striving, to inculcate, our history and culture,
Right.
and then meeting with someone who can absolutely deny him that opportunity. I think when Ilyasa was there with us, and I think she put it in perspective in terms of what happened with her father.
Right.
Had encountered the same kind of situation. If you read the autobiography, Kevin, you have that situation where he was stifled and told that was nothing you should aspire to, trying to be an attorney, trying to be a doctor.
Right.
Why don't you just stick to being a carpenter? So right away, it's a kind of a resignation on the part, of some of our educators, and whether it's historically, looking back to Malcolm's time or down to the moment with young Malcolm's time. We still have a certain kind of ignorance
Right.
that's going on in our community that we need to fight for.
Okay.
And that's what he represents. He reflects that. And I think an intergenerational dialogue, is absolutely apropos at this time. You
Okay.
turn his numbers over, it's almost like 81, boom, where I am.
Right. Are you up there now?
I'll be 80 in a minute. You'll
Wow.
be 18 in a minute. When is your birthday, Malcolm?
April 20th.
Oh, okay, you got one
April
coming.
what?
April 20th.
20th. I'm
got
the
one coming.
27th. That's great.
Wow.
All right, Kevin, you got involved because of this uproar from National Action Network has to be in on this, of course. All right, let me play this piece from National Action Network, and we'll come back to Kevin, who's the crisis director, so he gets involved with anything that's, well, especially something like this. All right, let's show the piece, and we'll come right back at you.
Education do you have if you cannot be who you are? Education is to enhance me, not to try and redo me. So I want you to welcome to the House of Justice this young man. Come on up here, Malcolm Xavier Combs and his mother and dad. Y'all come on up. Let them know the community's with them. Give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. And Malcolm, let me tell you something. Mother, Dad, and I want them to say something, and McCall say something, but because I want you to know that one of the teachers talked about how Malcolm X was a terrorist. Malcolm X was a hero. Malcolm X represented how we could rise out of what was our forced circumstance and environment and make bad decisions and reform ourselves and be global leaders. Malcolm represented the ability to redeem and build. And we found our pride and manhood in him because he proved that we can be broken and be put back together again. And because you're named the same as Malcolm, I wanted you to meet the daughter of Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz, Ilyasa Shabazz. And I'm going to have Ilyasa speak in a minute. Ilyasa, by the way, teaches Mr. Christ, the King School Authority at John Jay College. Her mama was one of the educators at Medgar Evers. And her mother was the one put my two daughters in school, when they started school. Dr. Bass said, no, I don't want them to, because you controversial going to public school. She put them in Johnson Prep, paid the first 2 years, called them a God show. So we take a precedent, so talking about Malcolm X, but I want them to see all over the news that the community is standing with this family. Let us hear from Malcolm X. Combs.
I was in AP English when I was called down to the office. They told me to wait in the office till she got there. Once she got there, she told me that she couldn't put my name on the sweater. She said I did not want to be associated with that name. She asked me if that was my real name, and I said yes. Either way, her husband walked into the office, and she said, "This is a new Malcolm X," and she laughed at me, and she laughed at me to her husband. I was silent the whole time because I was just shocked that in this year that she would say something like that, something so insensitive as that.
Now, I mean, that hit me dead in the heart. I mean, how could anybody have, in the era of Trump, I mean, in Queens, in Christ the King High, I mean, what is this? What is it that Malcolm was a Muslim? Is that why the Christ Church?
This is what we don't know. I mean, that's why we try to be able to find out. We decided to meet with them. The father of Malcolm X Combs went up to the school to be able to talk to the assistant principal and confront her on why my son can't use his name.
Right.
That's the first thing, his name.
Right.
And they said that we want to schedule, you can't just come up to the school like that, which the family have been avid participants in their child's education.
Of course.
This is a private institution. They pay their money to go to this private institution. So they've been up to the school many of times for good things about Malcolm, because he's on the dean list. He's involved. He has a job in after-school program. He's an after-school teacher. So he is, you know, a state-of-the-art young man. So he wanted to know why my son can't use his name that the mother named him and his father named him. And they said, well, you got to.
But they knew that was his name.
They knew that was his name. So they scheduled a meeting to be able to meet on Thursday. And I told them that I called the school and told them that I will come to the meeting with them. And the school said, why are you coming with them? I said, well, this is what the request of the family want. And you can hear dead silence on the phone.
Right.
And I came to the school, and we met, and it was very controversial because they felt that Malcolm should not be present in the meeting. And I said that this is about him, and he should be present. How can he defend himself if he's not present in the meeting? So we went back and forth for a little while, and then, because he was in class, the same class that you pulled him out of, but you don't want him here. But you pulled him out for, in the beginning about his name, a sweatshirt, but you can't pull him out about defending himself. So we went back and forth. So they came to us with a bunch of documents, and the documents showed that, oh, these are documents that the school has that doesn't have his middle initial on it. So the mother said, well, I have documents that the school gave you. Here's the dean's list, his award that he got from the technology teacher, the computer teacher, an award that he has. Here's Malcolm X on it. Here's his diploma. Here's his birth certificate. Forget all that other stuff. His birth certificate with his name on it. Showed all that stuff, and they said, well, he may have printed it up himself in computer class. We don't know. But this is his birth certificate. So we said, all right, that's fine. You want to deal with that. But what is the issue in regards to him being taken out of a class, of English class, he had to find where the principal's office is because he'd never been there.
Okay.
So he had to locate it on his own. He had to ask one of his friends, where's the principal's office? Went to the principal's office, and then he was like, I'm getting in trouble because of my name.
Right.
So they rationale is that the assistant principal, Ms. Arbitello, can use her personal opinion to deem what is controversial. So I said, huh? I said, so you can determine what is controversial. So every day if I get up in the morning and say that I don't like white people, and I go to school and I teach in front of white kids, I can say, well, I don't like none of y'all because that's my personal opinion. So I didn't understand that. So I said, well, so your policy is that your personal opinion can deem what is controversial. So I said, oh, so that's the issue. Controversial is the issue. So I said, if my name is Barack Obama, and I want to put Barack O on my sweatshirt, can I do that? He said, sure. I said, oh, really? I said, if my name is Martin Luther King and I want to put MLK, remember you said no initials now, can I put that? Yes, you could. I said, oh. I said, remember you said no initials, but I can put MLK. I said, well, what if my name is Alfred Sharpton and I want to put Al Sharpton? Can I do that? Oh, no, that's controversial. I said, oh, really? I said, so you deem it responsible. I said, well, your school is named after Christ the King. That person, everyone said that was controversial. They called them names, they spit on him.
Right.
They did all kinds of things. He was controversial himself. So how you going to tell somebody they can't use their own name?
Right.
They act like they were there in the beginning when his mother gave birth to him. So it was just really a totally disrespect. He told me that he voted for Trump, and I told him I knew he was.
Oh,
I know
right.
that he voted for
That
Trump.
was my next question.
I knew that he voted for Trump, and I knew that he was a racist because of some fact of the climate that we was particularly in. We gave them two demands. We told him that we demanded for him to be able to have his name on his sweatshirt, for him to be able to have that, and we also told him that we asked him to be able to host a workshop. Because this is a private institution. This is not like the Department of Education. This is a private institution. They're not connected to the Catholic diocese. They are independent ran. The Catholic diocese cut off their ties about 3 years ago because the Catholic diocese wanted to be able to put a charter school in, and Christ the King didn't, and they took him to court, and the Catholic diocese won. So this is something that they are no longer affiliated with. So I told him, I said, listen, you host a workshop. You can invite National Action Network, NAACP, Urban Lead, and any other organizations that you deem that is non-controversial, that can be able to deal with cultural diversity training and inclusion. So we can be able to have a dialogue, because when people hear about cultural diversity training, they think it's black. And it's not. It's about race, it's about religion, and it's about creed. So everybody to have an equal state at the table. Can you do this? And they said, well, we'll get back to you, whatnot. So they didn't get back to us, so we decided to turn up the heat. And, we brought them at National Action Network with Reverend Sharpton and Eliasa Shabazz. He saw the lost tapes of Malcolm last week. He went to go see the play of Malcolm. So this is not just something that is just for a moment. This is actually a movement that he actually, because I asked him when he came to my office, I said, what you want to do about this? Do you want to just me to call a principal to ask him? He said, no, I want to stand up for my name. All I wanted was an X.
Malcolm, I mean, that special moment, I mean, how do you feel when they start laughing at you about your name, about this great man that's a pillar in our community? That's our manhood. Malcolm, I mean, these clowns, I figured they were Trump supporters.
That's right.
I mean, how much diversity is in the school? I mean, have you run into racism in there?
I normally haven't, because most of the school is a whole bunch of black guys.
It's black.
It's a black school?
Yeah, it's
no, tell me it's all black. You're kidding.
Black guys and white girls.
Yeah.
What's the percentage of black in there?
Oh, I don't know this percentage specifically, but I could just tell just by walking through the hallways.
You can count the amount of white people in there?
Oh, you can't count the amount, but I mean, you could just tell that there's more black guys in there.
than a white woman.
Okay, so why is there a problem?
And then they lied because they said that they teach Malcolm X. Because I asked him, I said, do you teach about black history here?
Yeah.
He said, we show a film every year about, I said, is Malcolm X included? He said, no. So then they released a statement saying that we teach about Malcolm X and Malcolm X is in our books, is in our library. So let me understand this, sir. Ma'am, you can teach about Malcolm X, but you can't use his name? So how does a teacher teach? She gets in the classroom and say, to learn, we're going to learn about this person here. And we ain't going to say his name, but we're going to learn. So it's a lie. You don't teach about him. You don't have no books about him. You just want to create this monotony and sell us wolf tickets like you're doing something when you really ain't. What you're doing is trying to be able to have a racial overturn that this President Donald Trump has created is with
That's
the Trump
right.
and the Trumpettes. And it's like open carry racism that he has created within our society, not only just in here in Queens, but in the Bronx, all over this country, that he has created, where these white folks just decided just to come out of the and to say anything that's on their mind, and because they have the same mentality as Donald Trump. So, but we cannot be silent. We cannot allow them to be able to just go over, and that's why we had a rally in front of the school, because we wanted to let them know, and we still ain't none over, because you just think it's just one time you come in. No, this is still a movement. It's not just for a moment. It's a movement that we continue to build, that he's going to be able to do that. I told his mother, I said that when she writes, because, it's a tuition that she has to pay. It's graduation.
Is it expensive?
It's a good penny, good even knife a penny. And there's a tuition he has to pay, and it's graduation due she has to pay. Since he is not getting a sweater with his X on it, put Malcolm X on the check to see if they cash that check. They'll cash that check in heaven to see if he didn't use that particular name. So this is just systemic racism that's undercover, that's just coming out. And we're not just going to stand by and let this young man be, because by him speaking up, this went all over the country. We got calls from everywhere, and went over because of the symbol of his name. It's not nothing else. And the day that we had a rally, we had it on the assassination, the 50th anniversary, the 21st anniversary of Malcolm X. So we wanted to be able to let them know that this is not something. And the crazy thing about it is that he wasn't even thinking about Malcolm X when he said it. He was like, this is my name. That's what he was fighting for, his name. Nothing else. Nothing else but his name.
Exactly.
And he couldn't even do that. And what bothered them was the point of Malcolm X and what Malcolm X stood for, and how Malcolm X was a revolutionary, and Malcolm X did anything by any means necessary. That would bother them deep down inside.
I'm looking at your shirt there. Is this one that Ilyasa gave you?
Yes.
Have you worn it to school?
No, I haven't. It's a uniform.
Oh, you wear uniform.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Pushing the
I would
envelope,
definitely wear it.
Right. That's
So
nice.
where would you have worn this sweatshirt?
It was a senior sweatshirt, so they would have allowed us to have put it over our uniforms to wear it.
So that would have been for what occasion to wear the suit?
Just
You
period.
could come in every day with it on.
Because he's a senior, so they will allow him to particular wear it. It wasn't him breaking protocol to be able to do it. So we thought about creating our own sweater and then letting him wear it.
No, let him go. I think we should protest for him to just have his regular sweater and just go back to normal.
What if he
what
just
sort of-
defied that, Kevin?
Well, I mean, that's the spirit of Malcolm. I mean, Malcolm didn't
Just going as I'm gonna wear it anyway.
Malcolm did not let no rules stop him from doing anything.
Exactly.
I mean, if you remember the movie that Spike Lee did when the gentleman got beat up by the police and see how the nation
Johnson.
Hitting Johnson,
Harlem.
and how he stood up and said that we wasn't going to stop. We ain't leaving until Brother Johnson see a ambulance
Over the precinct.
At the precinct.
Sure.
And he said that I'll move, and when he moved, so I mean, standing up for that. But again, we want to make sure that Malcolm is protected with us with the community and having that, because when they bother him, they're bothering us. And we want to make sure that we continue to keep the momentum going and continue to be able to move this moving forward. So yeah, we got some things up our sleeve that we're going to be doing that's going to be contesting to what they're doing.
And how are you feeling about all this, Malcolm?
I'm feeling as in if it's necessary, because if I don't do this, who will?
Right.
So just have to stand up for everyone so this just doesn't happen to anyone else.
So this is giving you some extra juice in your
Kinda.
Huh?
Yeah.
You enjoying this?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I mean, they're challenging you
They
to
are.
be you. And you're brainy too. I mean, come on, man. We expect Malcolm X Jr. Come on, man. We need you.
Did you hear that by any means necessary?
I mean, this is great.
One of the
It's
things
great.
that's happening, and Kevin is involved in the whole PS 224.
Right.
The situation over there, which is kind of a
We're gonna have-
continuation in terms of how they get strangling
Yeah.
the educational possibility of our young people.
That's I mean, while I'm dealing with the Malcolm X stuff, I dealt with that on a Monday. On a Wednesday, I got hit with this whole 224 issue,
Yeah.
where Mercedes Lariano Clark, she's
Right.
a great teacher and
Right.
Afro-Latino sister, was teaching the children on the Harlem Renaissance and Frederick Douglass, and did a whole project on it and had the kids talk about it.
And this is
And
another predominantly black school,
This
right?
probably black and Latino school in the Bronx. That a
How
white
is this
principal
happening?
decides to be able to say that
I don't understand.
you're an English teacher, you cannot teach black history. She said, what?
She said, it's been 17 years.
She said, I've been teaching this 17 years. This in the curriculum. Showed her the curriculum.
Yeah.
And the principal should know that she's been a principal for 26, she's been an educator for 26 years, only been a principal for 1. So she know that this is in the curriculum. So that's why I said that this is like open carry racism, so they just finally getting the
It's
epiphany.
Trump. It's Trump.
So she told her, saying that I can't teach, because I'm an English teacher, black history is everything.
Right.
In every subject, there's black
That's
history.
right.
We created a whole bunch of stuff in everything, whether it's the arts, whether it's entertainment, whether it's math, all these things that we created. So why I can't teach it? He said, well, if you teach it, you're going to get written up. She said, well, I'd rather be written up. And she did this in front of the students. So the students say that tomorrow, which was on that Thursday, we going to wear all black and we going to walk out.
Right.
Because we ain't tolerant. So they wore all black. The students, we're talking about 6th and 7th graders.
Right.
That
Okay.
decided to wear all black to define what the authority was saying. And
But
the
Kevin, they
principal,
have to do that in conjunction with the parents, though, wouldn't they? In terms of how
yes,
the
they
kids...
did. Yes, the parents, they wanted to do this, so they told them and they organized it themselves. The teachers didn't have nothing to do with it. They didn't even know. Miss Mercedes, the teacher, didn't even know they was wearing on black. She had on yellow, so she wasn't even in conjunction with them. And these are 6th and 7th graders.
Are you with us or not?
So then we brought them to National Action Network, and we definitely had a rally in front of the school, but called for her baby to remove. And I usually don't go for the gusto by calling from a principal remove. I try to work it out. But when we hear about other stuff that she was saying, some racial overtones, then we said, no, she has to go. She needs to be removed.
What were the racial
And,
overtones?
Well, she was doing a lot of things. She asked, one of the students asked her, why are you trying to get rid of the black teachers? Because she was writing up.
Oh, that's right.
She was writing up all this,
Yeah.
the black teachers for little things. She said, the black teachers can just teach about, they're good disciplinarians. They're not good teachers. And one of the students asked her, why are you trying to get rid of the black teachers? He said, because I'm trying to make the school great again. So comments like that is
really?
yeah. So comments like that is really, so I called for her to be removed from the school. And we had a rally outside of the school to be able to call for a removal. The U of T joined us. Different community leaders joined us. Public Advocate Tish James, City Comptroller Scott Stringer, and we be able to create this movement behind that. And we continue to keep the pressure on. The school was out of break. We started a petition. So the Department of Education asked us to be able to hold a stakeholders meeting. So we are doing that. But we're going to raise the heat more if we need to do civil disobedience, if we need to do daily protesting. Because just because you think we're quiet and it's not out there, don't think just we, going to get rid of. But we want it was the crazy part is that something is really wrong with this principal, because in the midst of the dealing with that, we did the protest on a Monday. The projects was due on that Thursday. She came to the school and to Ms. Clark's classroom. The same teacher took her project, snatched the project out of one of the kids' hands on Lena Horn, and said that you're not getting this back until all of this is over. One of the teachers, one of the kids,
It's almost
She snatched
incredible,
a
isn't it?
project
she
from a
snatched
kid?
the Lena Horn project
From a kid.
from a kid and brought it to her office.
This is the principal?
This is the principal, Miss Catania.
What was the rep between her and the kid?
Nothing, but she's using this because she's mad at the teacher, Mercedes Clark.
Wait a minute.
She wants to
But that's the
retaliate.
principal of the school, and she's snatching
Absolutely.
at random some kid's project.
We had that kind of a coming together
And these
of
are all
Malcolm
Trump
X and
supporters.
Lena Horn.
Yeah,
Wow.
We talked about that
Yeah.
on Gary Bird's radio
that's right.
show.
That's right.
Because, what it is, it's systemic.
This is
It's systemic. It's across the country. When his situation broke out, I did some research on it. Across the country, you have incidents, particularly when it comes to teaching African American history. I mean, it's people thought we don't need no Black History Month. I think we need it more than ever. I guess.
That's right. We do, and they need to be. See, but the thing is that we do need Black history, but we need to know Black history and what it is, not just about Martin Luther King and the ones we know about. There's so many other people that have done stuff in our history that folks need to learn about. That's us as a people, and also our white brothers and sisters that need to be able to know as well, because they need to be able to be cultural diversified on their understanding, because the New York City curriculum tells them that they have to be able to teach about Black history in different ways. So you had a school in the Bronx, again, PS 118. A white teacher decided she has to teach Black history, so she had children lay on the floor and bunch together and say, this is what slavery feels like. And this is what it is. And one of the kids decided to say that, oh, this ain't nothing, I can deal with this. So she said, oh, this ain't nothing. She decides to step on the backs of the children and tells the children that this is what slavery feels. Does that hurt? She was immediately moved from the school.
I should hope so.
But
When did this happen?
this happened a week before MS-24 happened and Malcolm X happened.
You didn't mention anything about that.
No, but that was dealt
All
with.
the rest of the stuff came up.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
yes. So it was like when it rains, it pours, and it's pours and it's showing out.
Stepping on the kid's back?
And what the other crazy, but I say all of that to say, Gilchrist, is that you may think, she may think, the teacher may think that she did the right thing. Well, you want me to teach Black history, because she did do that, but she wasn't trained enough to know how you be able to understand Black history and what it is. That's why cultural diversity training is a must in New York City. It's a must across this country to understand the issues that we face and other people face. With the whole Malcolm X, and we didn't even know if they're against Muslims.
Yeah, that's right.
At all. They could have been against Muslims.
That's what I thought.
Is it Muslims in your school?
There are.
Indeed.
So,
With the girls with the
Oh no, they don't have that, but there are other guys like that I know who are Muslim.
okay. But nobody wearing the garb.
No.
Don't necessarily have to have a hijab. Huh?
right.
Yeah. All right.
So you don't know. This is what.
Herb, how does this sound to you? I mean, doesn't it sound like we're going back to what year was this? I mean, did we ever have it like this, so that racism felt so emboldened? I mean, they usually were ashamed of themselves. We're able to shame them into the corners somehow.
Right.
But Trump has brought all this madness out that it's all right to be racist.
Trump the superhero, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'll go right in there, even if I didn't have a weapon, you know, try to deal with the gunman down in Parkland.
But
I mean, he's a
That's
joke.
absurd.
It's
you know?
absurd.
He's a joke.
This is the same man when he was running for president, and somebody jumped on the stage. The security just ran him off the stage.
Yeah.
I mean, so what are you talking about? And then he's right that in his mind he's thinking, yeah, I'm running there because why? He's the president. Secret Service is gonna follow right behind him and kill the person. So
We don't
I
need
mean,
Trump as a superhero.
Absolutely.
We just need him as an ordinary person with some compassion.
Yep.
That's it.
With some integrity,
That's it.
with some concern with the downtrodden in this country.
When I heard that statement that he was going to run it, I said, well, of course he don't have a plan. I mean, so of course, you know, you can.
This is the
this is
idiotic
ridiculous.
knee-jerk response, you know. But you know,
So
one
what
of
do
the things that we talk about the whole history of this here, and it's obviously we're talking about the unchanging saying. It's like the need to have that Sankofa disposition. You know, the bird that faces forward but looks back. So we can connect all of the situations that's going on in a contemporary way, you know, with a young Malcolm and how it happened to Malcolm X himself. And so that's what I think we did at the National Action Network. Reverend Sharpton did a remarkable job of bringing that all together.
Yeah.
What Kevin has talked about here this evening with us is another indication of the need to begin to educate, you know, our teachers. Our teachers must be taught.
That's right.
You know, our principals, our vice
That's right.
principals, they got to, what happened with that? Somewhere along the line, there was a gap. You know, they missed some very important lessons in terms of African American history and culture. So back to those sessions with the teacher talking about all the children can lie down and assemble together, and that's what slavery is all about. It's good to have one of the young just stand up and say, well, I'm talking about a mutiny here.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm talking about uprising on the Amistad.
That's
you know,
right.
that's history
right.
too.
That's right. Talk about that. And that's what I understand about the whole Malcolm X thing is because they're saying they teach about it and we have books about it. But if they would have learned about Malcolm, Malcolm stood up for education. You know, this is a person that was very adequate on education. Look at his wife. I mean, there's schools named after his wife. There's schools named after Malcolm X. There's blocks. There's a stamp. Like, what? I don't understand what triggered them to be able to say that, oh, he can't use his name.
All right, let's go back. Since this is Black History Month, I want to take you to a hero of mine, Gil Noble. That's the only reason I'm sitting here today. I mean, Gil Noble is, he was Malcolm and Martin, and we all learned about racism back in these days. We're talking about coming up in the 50s. We're all ancient, and we sit here with two youngsters. I mean, he's a young man too. I've got grandkids, all of them, 5 of them. But looking back at all this stuff, it's all familiar then so unfamiliar. And we thought that we had made so many strides in life. I mean, we've all grown so many different ways. To get a chump like Trump in there, who's 5 years my junior, and we knew Trump over the years, what type of individual he was. And to see him take the place of our shining Prince Barack Obama, I mean, this is such a slap in the face to black people. To see this racist chump. I mean, he's a con. And to see how stupid America is, I mean, what are we going backwards? Oh, let's show Gil Noble. And this is when we had to have, is this his opinion of Malcolm back in the day?
My first inoculation was Dr. King. And then that led me to Adam Powell and a lot of the people. But I was put off by Malcolm X.
Why?
Because what he was saying and the way he was saying it was too blunt. It was dangerous. And you didn't say those things in those days. I told you, we had been socialized as kids to get around wrong, not to confront it. And Malcolm spoke in very declarative terms, and he said some terrible things about white people that we thought but you would never express it, you see. He talked about the way this country was not a democracy but a hypocrisy, and he talked about what had been happening to us down south and up south. And he was not shy. He had and he was very, very intimidating. I'm man enough to admit it. There are a lot of people who are my age who will speak, you know, with love about Malcolm as though it had always been that way, but that's not so. He scared a lot of us to death. And then, mind you, I had this apartment, a bachelor apartment on Convent Avenue, and I'd been having a lot of fun, you know. And here he comes talking about a different way of life. First of all, he dropped his last name. Well, we had been socialized to take great pride in our last name. The more European it sounded, the better. There was not a flinch about, you know, noble. Oh, that's wonderful. If it wasn't French enough, you'd put an ETT on it, you know, to make it sound more French. And so here's a man who dropped his good last name and replaced it with an X. I thought the man was crazy. And then he talked about discipline. And he talked
Self-discipline?
Self-discipline. He said that we do not believe in drinking. And at the time I would have a taste. And he said that we don't smoke cigarettes with or without a label on them. And I would smoke, you know, with a label.
Yes.
And he said, we don't eat pork. Well, you know, I love me some ribs. And then he said, we don't fornicate.
Yes.
And so psychologically I said, Malcolm, I'll see you later.
Yes.
You know, and all. But what he was doing in deprecating whiteness, I came to understand later that he was rearranging the balance that we needed, because we had glorified whiteness and deprecated blackness. And so he was tilting, using exaggerated terms, to give us a sense of self and to take whites down a little as they needed to be.
Welcome back. The reason I showed this, I wanted to show the conflicts between us as a people. How we struggle, where we always have shining stars amongst us all the time. And at the moment, we don't see the beauty within each other and the glowing figures, that the glowing people that we truly are. Now, Gil talked about Malcolm. Now, when Malcolm died, I was 24. So I was doing my own thing. Came up a completely different route. You know, I was in the service from 19 to 23. So I was away from everything, doing the Freedom Riders. I mean, I was in the service. I was fighting crackers, you know. So that was my challenge. You know, you couldn't call me the N-word back in those days, because it would set off a flaming animal would come out. And I got in trouble about that. But that was my struggle during the early 60s. But you find that those same struggles that we were having back then, they aren't hidden anymore. Now, you've got to deal with this at 17. How do you reflect with the leaders that we have today? How we're still struggling amongst each other and trying to find some direction. We don't have one central leader. Everybody's controversial, but the one leader that's really leading the opposition is Donald Trump. How do you see Donald Trump as he is today?
I see that he makes white people bold about saying anything they want to anyone they feel like. And I feel if that keeps going on, America's just gonna go downward.
And what are you gonna do about it?
Gotta stand up.
Exactly what you're doing. So it's empowering us all. So I mean, so I say this, Donald Trump is a test, right? How do you feel about all this, Michael? Michael, I'm calling you Michael. Kevin, I mean, you're a youngster. I mean, how do you feel this struggle that we're having today with the leaders, the black leaders that are out there?
Well, I mean, what is happening now, I think that it's really showing
Bring us together?
that a spirit of more so of unity
Okay.
Because we're living in a time that you have people like Malcolm, people have myself, you have people like Kirsten Ford,
Right, Kirsten.
and
Dynamite.
others that are really rising up
Right.
to be able to deal with the stuff that our older generation have dealt with, and really sticking the feet to the fire, because it's different with the Joshua generation.
Yeah.
So we're not
Okay.
taking just no for answer. Y'all set on train tracks, y'all march. We are more controversial. We will get there in terms of dealing with our mechanism, because we have Facebook and we have Twitter and we have Snapchat, so we can galvanize people much more than what y'all guys did before. We can get like tomorrow, they're rising up in the schools all over across the country, and they're walking out against gun legislation. Students. This is not. We ain't talking about seniors. We're talking about students. And this is rising up because of what happened. So it brings my mind back to what happened when the students decided to rise up back in the 70s and 80s in terms of doing that. So it's like history is repeating itself.
You're talking about the Vietnam War?
That's right.
Okay.
It's talking about history repeating itself, and people are not taking just anything for answer. People are running for office now, where before they said they don't want to get involved in politics and involved in electoral politics. People are rising up, and it's younger. It's younger people, and it's women. The women movement are expanding because their voice was not being heard. This whole Me Too movement is a young black sister that decided to say, I'm not taking it no more, I'm going to speak up, and it did a spiral effect to where she did it, and now a whole bunch of white women is coming forward. So it's really a movement of just speaking up. If he didn't speak up for himself and he didn't say anything else, you wouldn't even know that this was happening at Christ the King. You wouldn't even heard. Christ the King is known for basketball because Lamar Odom goes there and Jason Williams went there. So it's known for basketball. But it's going to be written in history that this young man named Malcolm Xavier stood up for himself. And he stood up for what is right. So when he have children, and if they want to go to Christ the King, when they Google, it's going to show that Malcolm Xavier decided to stand up for himself. And that's what it's made about.
Interesting question, Kevin, in terms of how he is being received, by his peer group. How are they? Almost by default, you're thrown into a leadership position. You ready for it?
Yeah,
you seem to be. Yeah,
they've been really supportive of everything that's been going on. Some even came out to the rally, and they just continue to really stay behind me through anything that's going on.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, a lot of the students had said, they went to the principal with a list of demands. And
really?
They wanted to be able to have conversations like, first of all, if they were devastated that their school is being looked at as somebody that is not together or not in unity with Malcolm. That's the first thing. The second thing is that they said that it wouldn't be a Christ the King, it wasn't for the students.
Right.
So imagine if all them band together and said, we ain't paying our tuition this year. We ain't doing this until his name. So just different mechanisms that be able to happen. Just because you're private, that don't mean that you can just get rid of racism and you get a pass because you're private. No, there's other areas that we can be able to look into to be able to make sure that you'll know that when you go to sleep at night and when you wake up in the morning and when you get to school, that Malcolm X Xavier will be on your mind.
It's good to have that kind of collective because they can almost immediately isolate and then single everything on you, pressure on you. But have you got this galvanized group around you? It's a protective shield, Say, okay, we can push on. Because we did the same thing in the 60s.
Yeah.
It was a student movement.
That's right.
The whole anti-war protest was young people.
That's right.
When we created black studies in this country, it was young students on the campuses of America that did that. So all of this, we need to study our history and maybe look at some of those things that were very, very effective, back at that time to bring about change.
Right.
We need a good systemic analysis of the 60s. We're still working on that.
That's right. That's good. Well, you're the best at it, Herb. So,
we
tried.
That's
what is this book that you have?
Well, I wanted to bring and make this a gift to young Malcolm. This is a book that I did with Ilyasa.
Well, I thought you got this copy. Did you get this one?
Oh no, I didn't get this one.
I don't know if they have that in the school, Kevin.
You trying to get the boy expelled? You give him
You
a
got it in your
revolutionary
home and in your heart now. And this is the diary of Malcolm X. What he, it supplements and complements, I think, the autobiography.
This is what you wrote.
Yes.
With Elias.
This is edited.
Gotcha.
This is Malcolm's
Sure.
diary that he kept in 1964
Wow.
when he traveled across the Middle
this is
East
the
and
newest
North
one, right?
Africa, and also parts of
This is
Europe.
before Black Detroit.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. This goes back almost
3 years?
2013, 2012.
Wow.
This goes back to 2012, and it didn't get the kind of exposure that it really deserves.
That's right.
But slowly, gradually, you know, as time goes by, that's a collector's item. You hang on to that. Don't loan it, because people grab the books and they don't bring them back.
Right, that's right.
You know, so you hold on to this one, study it, because you're being forced into a leadership capacity. So you got to be ready, prepared, because a lot of questions and all kind of encounters will occur, and you want to be prepared. You stay close, you know, to your counselors and your guidance. Stay close to your parents, you know, and make sure they help you, because now you're in a position, you're our future.
That's right.
You're our future, and I think it's in pretty good hands. So that's my book to you. Shake the hand that shook the hand of Malcolm X.
Oh, wow, man. How's it feel, man?
It feels great.
What
It
a
feels great.
marvelous future. What's your hopes and dreams of the future? I mean, you got a school that you picked out?
I have a school, Oakwood University. It's a HBCU in Alabama.
Alabama, of
Yeah.
all places. Malcolm X in Alabama.
That's mine. That's me. Take it back to Alabama. That's where I was born. I was born in Alabama. Yeah.
Well, nothing worse than that. Be Mississippi.
Oh, yeah, I know. Goddamn.
Alabama, man. Why Alabama? Just to stick it to them?
Oh no, this was
I mean,
a
it's God's plan.
All right. Wow, that's a challenge. You're taking it on. You know, his spirit might come visit you or something, you know? You've got quite some shoulders to bear, man.
yeah.
Have you seen the
That's
Black
exciting.
Panther film yet?
Yes.
Oh,
What do you
that's,
think?
that's
It
so
was a great
inspiring.
movie.
Something, huh?
It's-
Oh,
yes.
brother.
Wow.
Whoa.
Welcome to
You
Wakanda.
see what you I mean, back in our days, we had Tarzan movies, and you know, we had nothing inspiring like this, man. I mean, this Black Panther movie is something. We're gonna do a show on it.
We were on another show, and Malcolm got a task to do, since he wants to be a video game designer.
You dig it?
They told him that they want him to create a game of civil rights leaders.
okay.
Which is I think would be a marvelous thing,
Yeah.
to create a game about civil rights leaders and how they overtake the government.
I got two books that I'll get to you. That one I did, Civil Rights Yesterday and Today, and the other one's called We Shall Overcome. And this is a history of the civil rights movement. Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee worked with me on. They provided
wow.
2 CDs that we have and a soundtrack. You know, this is kind of the articulating what's in the book. So I make sure we get all our information together, because I
Okay.
want to be in touch with you.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
Thanks.
fabulous.
You know, maybe this is great, Gilchrist, to have this opportunity.
Oh,
You
man,
know, I
it's
mean,
just my
it's
Yes.
intergenerational dialogue. I mean,
You know,
goodness, can't
this
beat it.
is, it's a blessing to be here. You know, I've been here 20 years now, and things just come. You know, God just set the path, and I just say, trust in Him, and things happen. Well, you know, Christ is the director. Man, we're coming up with some stuff all the time. My God, we got so many things coming. We're gonna do a show on Black Panther, and I mean, I saw that movie, and I sat back, and I was in tears, man. I said, wow, can you imagine? I mean, the wealth of Africa.
That's right.
If we can actually just
Just,
get together as a team and take that, we
Take
could
it.
cure every. See, I truly believe, I know that we are spiritual people.
That's right.
We're the good guys on the planet, all right? We're like in the Black Panther, we're the good guys, man. And when we get evil and start killing each other and fighting amongst each other, when we're the good guys, we're the heroes.
What got me about Black Panther was that before I even saw the movie, was the hype that us as a people will go to a movie theater and dress up in our African garbs and dress up to be able to say that this is what we're going to see, something that is about us, which never happened to any other film ever. So you talking about young people, old people, just people, period. You got white folks wearing African garb, so you knew you're touching something. Here it is in court, and then the numbers came out, $700 million. And this is only the second week. So it's definitely.
As an older person, I saw something else there. The fight between us as a people, in the way Africans and African Americans fight, because we're not taking care of each other. You see, in the last scene, they say, what, there's one tribe, and we're going to make it peaceful for everybody. Like it's one race, the human race. And see, we are the spiritual people of humankind. And once we learn that, I mean, especially African American history, when we learn to love one another, we learn that peaceful Martin Luther King, see, Martin and Malcolm used to fight all the time. When Malcolm used to call King a Tom. A
Tom, yeah.
When he first started out. But when he learned that love energy really rules, and then we take over. The Black Panther showed us that black people are spiritual. We have all the technology and all the knowledge in the world. And once we share our wealth, which is our spiritual energy, we are giving our love energy to the planet.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you as a youngster get to do it young. Man, when I was your age, I was mad at everybody. I didn't get a chance to love until I was an old man. But if you can start out loving and just loving your people, and, you know, get them out of calling each other the N-word. That means low life, the N-word. And you're calling, hey, low life over there. You my low life brother, all right? And we feel that energy of love energy. Go to church. Oh, you got to go to Warren's church, 1 Corinthians. Oh, man, God is in that church, man. I mean, you walk in there and you feel the spiritual energy, man. And I just want to say that we as a people just have to love one another and love everybody. Even got to love Donald Trump.
That's right.
Show him some love. This fool he's stupid.
I told my church a couple Sundays ago, I said that, you know, there's anybody that you hate, the Bible says love your enemies.
That's right.
So he's your enemy, so you better pray for him.
That's right.
If you want to receive a blessing.
That's right. That's right. Hate is nothing but taking poison and looking for your enemy to drop dead.
That's right.
All you're doing is torturing your own internal organ. Anytime you got hate in you don't feel good. They didn't like me when I was a kid because I was happy all the time. I didn't. I was black. I love it. You stand in the sun and try to get my complexion, so why should I worry about that? I thought white people were stupid. And you go lay in the sun, try to get my complexion. What sense does that make? And Donald Trump is showing how dumb racism is. White supremacy. You ain't superior to nobody. Look at you.
You said he saw the lost tapes. What did you think of the lost tapes?
Oh, we got
those were
5 seconds. Thank you for coming, Malcolm. Power to the people. I'm sorry. We got a minute to go for the Bronx, so go ahead, Malcolm.
Oh, about the
lost
tapes.
Yeah.
The lost tapes. I learned a lot of new things. It was really powerful the way it was put together with the clips and the talking, and I never really got to hear him like speak. But when I heard him speak, like I could just tell how everyone could just follow him because of how just great he sounded. Great. So, but by that basically, made me feel even better.
Yeah, right.
That's right. Yeah, that's good.
When they presented in Pittsburgh, I was out there to respond to it and point out some of the things in there. Sins of omission and commission. But we'll talk about that later.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Okay. The God in me loves the God in you. Stay tuned for more of the Gilchrist Experience. We're coming back with even more. Power to the people.